What's going on YouTube? Happy Friday. Start a business for cheap. Cheap, 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 cheap. Listen to that word. When I say the word cheap to you, what's the first thing to come to your mind? And that first thing that came to your mind, was it positive or was it negative? Start a business for cheap is the brand that I'm working on. My logo was completed today. I wasn't the best internet marketer at all. Still learning a lot. But just finished the logo. My mastermind buddy's working on the site. So everything's coming together. Just finished a podcast class. The brand is slowly forming. Here's the deal. Here's why I chose that name. Two men come to mind. One happened in Las Vegas and one happened in South Dakota. And it was so funny because the men that I'm referring to were probably right around the same height and seemed to be pretty similar in personality. And their conversation went something like this. With what you're doing right now, this is them asking me the question. You're honestly making a living doing what you're doing? And let me translate that for you so you can understand more what I'm about to say. They saw my business and what was going on, and they was like, how do you make a living doing this? And they tried to say it in a nice way where it wasn't offensive. But what really stirred me up about that question is that in the world today, there are people who are walking around thinking that just because a business looks cheap means that they're not making money. People have thought this for years about hot dog carts, snow cone carts, ice cream, arts and craft, junkyards, over and over and over again. It's to the point where I was just talking to a person and they just opened a business a while back. 6 to 8 months later, guess what that business was? Boarded up, done. Why? Overhead was too high. Not enough customers coming in to support that business. Just like every other entrepreneur, they thought that, oh my gosh, I'm going to open this business and people are going to flood through those doors, and they get the ribbon, they get the mayor to come out and they have the big scissors and they cut that ribbon, and all of a sudden they open that door and they have the wine all laid out, and the only people that come to that business were the people who did the cutting in that grand opening ceremony. After those people leave, nobody else accompanied them. I was just at a ribbon cutting here months back. Was just at one. Saw the mayor, saw everyone there. Now that business has a for lease sign on it. But it was a big business. It looked nice on the outside. Everything was beautiful. Everything was marvelous. You can go back to your friends and say, hey, I own this business. 6 to 8 months later, the doors are closed. Guys, this is serious. The word cheap does not mean something bad. If more Americans were cheap, we wouldn't be in the financial turmoil that we're in. Buying houses we can't afford, buying cars we can't afford, keeping up with the Joneses, buying clothes we can't afford. We can't even pronounce the name, but we always have to have a name on the shirt. Oh, I guess this is the name. I got it from Old Navy. $7.99. I guess that's the name. But what's going on? So the movement of start a business for cheap is this. And hear me well. $5,000 or less, you can turn your business into $100,000. That's the movement. I did it. I know many of my friends that have did it, and it's possible. And that's the way that businesses should be started. You start where you are, you move to that next level, then guess what? Then you graduate to the next level. Before you go out and open at McDonald's and all those other places, whatever, start with something to get your feet wet in the regular business. Learn how to treat customers, learn how to handle employees, learn all the basics. Then when you move up, your businesses will never ever have problems. Well, they will have problems because failure is great, but they won't have the problems as if a person who started fresh and didn't know anything about business. What's the rush? Learn to love the word cheap. Being cheap can save your life. It adds more zeros to your bank account. I've talked to people who I know have nowhere near the money that I have and spend so much money on things and kind of, to the fact, look down on me for not purchasing those things or not participating in those things. They try to talk down to you, but usually these are people who are the casualties. And you guys know exactly who I'm talking about. So I'm asking you, with the podcast that's coming, finish the class, great class, I'm going to bring on regular Joe Blow people on podcasts, people who are starting businesses, people who are successful in business, all different types of people. And we're going to learn together. I've done a lot of researching on what is it that makes this guy's heart beat. You guys have told me it wasn't finance. I see you more of a business guy. It's something that I'm destined to do. And this is the road that I'm on, and I'm paving it every day. So I'm just asking you guys to support me on this movement. When the podcasts come up, listen to the podcast. Go like them on iTunes. If you feel that you're a person that's in business and you've been in business for a while and you're doing okay, not saying at first I put a message saying that you have to make six figures. If you have a business and you're in a business and you're working it, let us hear about it. Let's talk about it. The podcast is only going to be 30 minutes. We're not going to kill you with time and all that. So learn the lesson in this video is this: learn to love the word cheap. Learn to love the word cheap. It's not a negative thing. So with that said, guys, thank you guys for watching this channel. Please subscribe. And until next time, signing off.